Hi everyone, Sue Matsuki for Nightlife Exchange with another Sue's Muse. Today I have a friend who moved out of town several years ago and I want to catch up with him because he's a producer now and does all kinds of great things. Please welcome my Muse for the day, Stephen Hanks. Hello, dear. How are you?
Hello, it's great to see you on the screen. I haven't seen you for a while because
How
you
long have
weren't
you been
able
out
to.
of town?
It's actually just a little over 3 years, the end of July. So it's 3 years.
Now, have you been doing anything artistic down there? I mean, we're going to
Oh,
talk about how he produces these shows, these Blue Wave shows, which is going to be awesome. I'm in this one, yay. But what have you been doing down there to keep your artistic chops up and sharp? Are you
so
doing fun?
you'll appreciate this because it's cabaret related. When I first got here, right after I got here in July of 2021. I went to see a guy who's sort of like considered like the unofficial mayor of Sedona, who runs the Sedona International Film Festival.
Arizona, by the way, just in case we didn't mention that.
So, right. He's the executive director of the Sedona International Film Festival. They put on a big festival every year at the end of February into March for 9 days. I went to see him because I knew he would know a lot of information about potential cabaret spaces, clubs that might want to do cabaret. Because I had this whole idea that I was going to bring people like you to Sedona to perform.
I would be there in a
So
nanosecond.
I know, so did a lot of people. And while I was at the meeting, I we we were just chatting about my background because he didn't know me from Adam. I just kind of walked into his office. And when I told him that I had this long career in magazine publishing as an editor, writer, ad salesperson, he said, "Oh, I may have a job for you." And I wasn't there looking for a job, but to make a long story short, he was looking for an ad salesperson for the program that they do for the festival, which is this beautiful, thick, 170 plus page magazine that
And your
he
background is in editing and copy
editing and writing,
writing. Yeah.
but a number of the magazines that I ran as an editorial director, I was also the publisher. And as the publisher, you have to oversee ad sales and strategize. And I've done ad sales off and on in my career. So I was looking for some ways to make money. And this was connected to a film festival.
Mhm.
So he hired me to sell ads.
Kind of a
So
no-brainer. Yeah.
yeah, so this is going to be my fourth cycle coming up. Um,
So I
I'm,
know
I'm
you're also a big baseball fan, and I know this because you and my musical director Gregory go at it all the time.
right. Yeah.
You were a coach. You were coaching up here when you were living up here in New York. What have you found a niche down there to continue doing that?
I actually coached the high school baseball team for 2 seasons. Like 2 seasons ago, they were looking for a coach. I applied. I got the job because I had experience back in New York coaching girls softball and baseball and some soccer.
Mhm.
And I did that. I just finished my second season. Unfortunately, because Sedona is so small and there are so few kids here,
Mhm.
they don't have a little league. It's hard to build a program. So, we weren't very successful on the field
Mm.
in that situation because we're playing schools in Phoenix and, these
Yeah.
huge high schools. And
The little engine that could.
yeah, I did my best, but, it's so after the second season, I kind of gave that up.
Do you
And
find time for singing on your, or do you sing at all still? Are you study voice with anybody? Are you keeping your own
I,
chops up?
yeah, I have taken a few classes with a vocal coach here, mainly because Patrick, who runs the film festival, when he found out that I did a Don McLean show in New York when I was there, he was all excited about me doing it here.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, if I did do that, I would bring Sean Harkness out because Sean was my music director and guitarist for that show. But I've had a bunch of issues with with health and bronchitis, and
Mm.
I actually just got over COVID last week.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's coming back. It's hitting a lot of people up here too.
yeah, so I don't want to jump into a show until I feel like I'm not a professional singer to begin with. So for me to do a show again, I would have to like work, as you know how much goes into this.
Yeah, I do. I do. And I respect the fact that you'd want to, be at your best to put something up,
Exactly.
especially since you don't get to do it that often and everything. So, we're going to start talking about you as a producer right now. So just for the record, we are going to be talking about a political project that Stephen is involved with and has been involved with for 12 years. The views that we're going to discuss are not necessarily the views of everyone here at Nightlife Exchange, just a disclaimer, but because I'm in the show, you can probably guess what my views are. So let me talk to you about
By
let
the
me
way, I had a question for you. I wanted to ask you a question.
sure, go ahead.
Okay, so this is called Sue's Muse, and I was curious, who's the muse in this scenario?
You are the muse. You are the people I interview are my muse. They're
Um,
people that intrigue me, that make me want to ask questions outside of just what show you're doing. I want
I
to
think we
know.
can trade. I think we can trade the muse position in this.
That's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind being anybody's muse. So we're going to talk about like you have had this product. Originally we called it the Blue Wave, and the Blue Wave started what, 12 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it started in 2018 with the mid.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. For some
it
reason I thought
started.
it was longer than that.
Oh no. No, this is going to be the 12th show.
The 12, that's where I got the number 12 from, the
Right.
12th show.
The
Okay.
12th show, but I started it during the 2018 campaign when the midterm elections were getting ready to come up when Trump became president.
Right. And we were raising money for all the Democratic candidates across the country. I remember mine was Beto. I had Beto.
That's right. Mostly Senate candidates at
Right.
that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we ended up we did 5 shows that year. 4 of them were all women, as you remember.
Hmm.
I was only planning on doing 4, but I had a bunch of guys like clamoring to do one. So
Well, we know how much you
I
like to
got,
be the rooster in the hen house. So,
hey, there is a much larger percentage of women in cabaret. We all know this. So so we did 5 shows in 2018, and that midterm election, the Democrats flipped 40 seats in the House.
mhm.
A lot of our candidates that we supported, well, Beto unfortunately didn't win that year. He came close,
Yeah, yeah.
but everybody had a great time. And then when we did so well in the midterm elections, we did a couple of shows that we called celebration shows. And the money we raised for that went to voting rights organizations like Stacey Abrams' voting rights organizations in Atlanta and Georgia.
So just so you know that the monies raised for this go back to something political, anything over after expenses. And a lot of us are donating our time and talent and stuff. So there's a very low overhead, when we do these shows together. But, I applaud you for that. Because
Thank you.
any amount of money, even, and cabaret shows don't make all that much money, but when people just throw extra money in the pot as they're walking out the door, we can raise a few $100s here and there. And 1,000 in other cases and stuff.
That's
So that's
right.
always helpful. So let's talk about the show that's going to be happening in September.
Right. So I had no plans on doing another show. Yeah, I did one in May, at the end of May when I was in New York. And I also did one in May of 2022, mainly because I was coming to town for something else.
Mhm.
In 22, I was coming to town for Dawn DeRoe's wedding. This time in this May, I was coming to town for a nephew's wedding. So I thought, hey, I'm going to be in New York. Let's do a show. Like Judy
I've got
Garland.
the curtains, I've got the contracts. Let's do
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. And what's so amazing about it is that the group of women, mainly like you, and you know who we're talking about, who've
Well,
been
you
in
can name some of
show.
them. I mean, we'll see it on.
Well,
I have a flyer. And it'll be
Right,
all on this, at the bottom of this interview, you'll have a link to ticket sales and everything. So, but
right.
yeah.
Well, over the 11 shows we've done already, and including the 12th one, there have been about 35 different performers.
Mhm.
Many of them who've done multiple shows. So when I did the show this past May to raise money for basically, the theme was New York congressional candidates, because we really need to flip these New York congressional seats to get the Congress back for Democrats
Mhm.
in 24. Because I mean, if Kamala Harris wins the presidency, she needs the House and the Senate with her.
Right.
Excuse me. So I wasn't planning on doing a show, and then Joe Biden dropped out of the race.
Yeah, I saw your posts. I mean, a lot of us hung in there to the last minute. I mean, like I said, I would have voted for him,
Right,
no matter
exactly.
what, because it beats the alternative. But and there's people on the other side who feel the exact same way. Let's just put that out there. But I saw you lovingly and respectfully refer to him as Uncle Joe. Time to step down, Uncle Joe. And what brought you to that realization at that point? Because I know for me it was the debate. I was worried after the
Well,
debate.
I mean, the debate obviously was the trigger for a lot of people,
Right.
because I mean, the first 15 minutes of that debate, my head was in my hands.
Yeah.
I've been a political junkie. I was a political science major in college. I feel like I have some savvy about politics. As horrendous as Donald Trump was and is, and as much as he lied in that debate, Biden was so it wasn't only that he looked old and acted old, it was that he had all these opportunities to counteract what Trump was saying,
Right.
and he just couldn't do it.
Mhm.
So everybody was in despair. All the Democrats were in despair. And basically, what Joe Biden did is he saved the country a second time.
I think he's a hero for stepping down. I think that it's
Absolutely.
got to be the most difficult decision, humiliating to some extent, but I think that that will be his legacy if it plays out the way, obviously, our team wishes it plays out, but it will be his legacy that he was wise enough and loving of this country enough to make the right decision. So, and you're feeling hopeful now. I know I'm feeling hopeful now. How are
Oh,
you?
without a doubt. I mean, I don't want to go as far as to say we're definitely going to win.
No, it's not a slam dunk for
It's
sure.
not
Yeah.
a slam dunk, but all of the indicators are pointing in the positive direction. And, we haven't even had the Democratic convention yet.
Right.
And from, watching politics yourself over the years, the convention always gives a big bump to the candidate.
Yeah, it
So,
surely does on either side. So listen, I'm just putting this up just so that we get this up before our 15 minutes is up with this little interview. But so as you can see, some of the names, our show is up on Saturday, September 28th at 4 p.m. Now, I just want to say that while I'm in the show, I'm not doing this interview because I'm in the show. I'm doing it because I feel strongly about the fact that we have to pull together on this issue. And because
absolutely.
Stephen is a friend who I have been involved with for several years doing these shows, and I wanted to give him voice, to continue to give him voice in an area that he feels strongly about. So you can see some of the great blue waivers, my blue waiver sisters, listed all here with the wonderful Tracy Stark on the keys for us again. Please join us. It's a 4 o'clock, it's a matinee show. So, we'll go have dinner afterwards or brunch beforehand or something like that. I think it'll be a wonderful day. What do you want to say about this show in particular, Stephen?
Well, obviously, the reason why I decided to jump into it, as we were talking about before, is the energy over Kamala Harris being the nominee now. And I just wanted to not so much capitalize on that, but feed off of it.
Mhm.
And I know by the time we get to the end of September, which will only be like 5 weeks away from the election,
Mhm.
that's the point where we're in the home stretch. We need to energize as many people as possible, even in a blue city like New York. like you said, we can't take anything for
You
granted.
cannot take anything for granted because, I always say that about Cabaret too. I very rarely make political comments. I never make political comments on my Facebook page because I'm an entertainer. And if I'm being hired to go to another state, I don't know what their demographic is. And I'm there to entertain. I'm not there to lecture. If I'm hired for the Democratic National Convention, I know my audience. You know what I'm saying? So it's always kind of a sticky wicket, but I believe in expressing yourself. And some of the ladies on that list that you just saw are very, very active politically. We all are actually in our own ways. So I welcome you to attend the show. Stephen, I want to thank you on behalf of the Blue Waivers and also just on behalf of Cabaret for doing these shows and for, putting your money where your mouth is and giving that money back to the community that needs it the most in order to get this agenda pushed forward. And I also love the fact that you're not a bashing guy. You're talking about what we can do proactively and actively to get to this next goal without having to do what other people do and bring people down in the meanwhile. So thank you for that. So please join us and please say thank you to Stephen Hanks for being my muse today. I'm Sue Matsuki and we are Nightlife Exchange. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.